All right. So we have another case of El Segundo PD harassing me and treating me like a criminal. Does the Fourth Amendment not apply to me? Does it not apply to people of color when they come to visit El Segundo? We are very aware of the practice of El Segundo PD hassling Black and brown people whose car is not registered to El Segundo address. Again, Chief Whalen confirmed this during our meeting and via email. We have a huge problem here. What is City Council going to do? We need action and we need it now. Do not hide behind the DEI committee. The ball is in your court and we want action now. Carol, where do you stand on racial profiling in El Segundo? When your family member ripped down BLM flyers in El Segundo, you spoke to City Council about it privately, but we didn't hear anything publicly. Please let us, the minority members of this community, know where you stand. I'm asking you today, where do you stand? Scott Nichols, you met with our group and you said you wanted to work with us. Your actions do not support your words. You said you wanted to make things better. You haven't made any public comments, and I did not see any action from you. Where do you stand on racial profiling, and what are you going to do about it? You claim to be the progressive of the group. It's time for you to prove it. Chris, where do you stand on racial profiling? Last meeting, you asked Chief to set up a checkpoint in the town. I'm a little worried about what that could lead to. This isn't a gated community. We can't just stop everybody coming in. How would you ensure that people of color are not the targets of this checkpoint? Lance, you are always outspoken on issues in this city. While I do not always agree with you, I do respect your passion. I am asking you to get involved. Be the leader this community desperately needs. Be outspoken on racial profiling like you have other topics. I'm here to remind you of your obligations to all the members of this community. I'm begging you, do something more before citizens are hurt. This issue is urgent, not something to be considered months from now, but something that must be addressed right now. It is not an exaggeration to say that one of these profiling incidents, any one of these illegal stops and harassment could lead to tragedy. Someone could be hurt or even worse, killed. We have seen it before in other communities. Sadly, we've seen it too often. Mayor Drew Boyles, I'm your neighbor. You heard about both incidents. I would think with our history, you would have reached out and checked to see if we were okay. You reaching out would have gone a long way to making my family still feel welcome here. Your silence during these incidents and over the last 8 months is telling. My ask for you is please provide an update as to where you are on the mayor's pledge. You pledged to make a change. I have not seen it. It seems like another empty promise from a local city official. Myself and people of color in this community want to know what you are doing to make this a safer place, a welcoming place for us. Just so we're clear, I'm asking what you were doing, not the DEI. They didn't commit to the pledge, you did. Scott Mitnick, what are you going to do about Chief Whalen? In the past, I have publicly supported the chief in his efforts. I can no longer support him and am calling for his resignation. It starts at the top, and he has clearly lost control or is condoning the actions of his officers behind closed doors while telling the public something else. There needs to be a change. Take a look at the email exchange between us. He admits to this being a sundown town. Is this how you expect your employees to deal with the public? In 2021, with everything going on in this climate, in this environment, is this the example you want in this city? Hold the chief and both officers accountable. As I told you in my email, I'll be filing a formal complaint against one of the officers. Now that we found out that that plate was not lost or stolen, we will be filing formal complaints against both officers. Start keeping stats on stops. Why are we waiting until the last minute to comply with new transparency laws? Both my interactions with police would have no record if it was not for El Segundo for Black Lives, Avery Smith, and Jimmy Pete's support. Chief Whalen, you have lost all credibility with me. You claim to have reviewed the video yourself, but later admitted that was not the case. I need to be able to trust law enforcement in this town. Your officers are very comfortable outright lying. And after our exchange, I can see why. All you had to do was review the video and discuss what you saw with me, like you agreed to, but that was too much. The incident outside of my house was embarrassing and humiliating. My neighbors are looking at me like I'm a criminal. You did nothing to help me understand El Segundo PD's perspective. You made a comment about being beat up every day for bad stops and racial profiling. I'm here to tell you it's time for you to listen to the people of this city. I have provided more than enough proof. While the job is still yours, what are you going to do to improve El Segundo PD's reputation and your own? They are both in need of serious repair where I sit. How many tickets have been issued behind fraudulent stops? How much money has the city collected? How many people arrested and taken from their families? How many cars impounded? Your officer's conduct brings up so many questions. During our demands rally, I was blown away El Segundo PD would sit there and allow people to attack women and children from this community with racial slurs and inappropriate comments.
Mr. Puckett, if you could wrap it up, please, Keith, we'd appreciate it. You're over the 5 minutes.
Yeah. It's time to resign, Chief Whalen. From my personal experience, you're not the man you claim to be. We are long past the point of civic leaders saying the right thing. It's time to start doing. We are coming up on election. Make serious changes or we will. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Mr. Puckett. I'm going to turn over to the city manager.